Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer with you on a Thursday from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Hope your Thursday is getting along just fine. We are working towards the weekend. Almost smell it. Lots to get to over the next 2 hours. There's a bye week for the Saints. Tigers don't play on the gridiron for a while, so looking around, and David Grubb from Hard in the Paint going to talk some Saints as well as some Pels with us in 15 minutes. Mel Kiper's new big board is out. Tell you where Jaden Daniels falls and what that may mean for his future coming up at 1:30. Best win and worst loss on the board in the NFL. Thursday staple at 1:45. I'm going to play teacher. Give some grades in hour number 2 for the Southeastern Conference football teams. Billy Embody of On 3, part of the Bengal Tiger website, is going to talk transfer portal and recruiting as things are really in full swing. Kind of in the home stretch here towards signing day, so Billy will be with us at 2:30. We always play some Take It or Leave It to finish things up. So again, appreciate y'all being with us here. Let's get things off and moving with the New Orleans Saints. I started to look around this morning, okay, what kind of storylines can we hit here on a bye week? It is the bye week. You're coming off of a devastating loss in Tampa, and essentially you're staring at a lost season. That's the way I see it. I'm certain if you talk to Dennis Allen, even in private, he would tell you they still got to win out and see what happens in the division. That's fine if he wants to look at it that way. I'm not, because I think they're bad, and I think it's a lost season. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make a run. This team is not good, and their record indicates it. And so I look at this, and I say, okay, you've got a month left, basically. What can you salvage? You can't salvage this season. But this is a franchise. Things are constantly in motion. And you've got to make yourself the best you can be. You got to start Jameis Winston. That's my take. Andy Dalton was the backup quarterback you signed in case Jameis Winston got hurt. He got hurt, and Andy went in there. He's done all you can ask of a backup quarterback, but that's what he is. You've got Jameis Winston under contract, not a huge one, but under contract for another season. He needs to start the last month. There is no future with Andy Dalton. There's not even a present with Andy Dalton. Listen to the last 5 games. It's a little bit selective. I get it. He's played more than 5 games. These are your last 5 games with Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback. You played the Ravens and you lost. You scored 13 points. You played the Steelers and you lost. You scored 10. You played the Rams, who were awful, and you beat them. You scored 27 points. Then you played the 49ers. You lost. You got shut out. You didn't score. You played the Bucs and you lost 17-16. You scored 16 points. In those 5 games, the Saints are averaging 262 total yards per game. In those 5, 262 yards per game on offense. The Texans are the worst offense in the league. They average 279. You are 17 yards worse than the worst offense in the entire NFL, a team that's not even trying to win. You're significant. You're worse than them over the last 5 games. Points per game over the last 5, 9.8. The Broncos have the worst scoring offense in the league. They score 13.8. You're 4 points worse than that. What are we getting out of this? You can't move the ball. You can't score. This is not 1 game or 2 games to look at. This is over a month. It's 5 games. No longer is the excuse, well, he gives us the best chance to win, palatable to me. He doesn't. You can't score and you lose all the time. I have very little reason to believe that if you put Jameis Winston into the lineup, that he would go right up and down the field and average 28, 35 points a game. In fact, I think it wouldn't. But you've got him under contract next year, and at least it's possible. I've seen 3 years of Andy Dalton in 3 different places that prove it's not possible. He ain't exactly getting any younger. Again, over 5 games, and albeit the Ravens, San Francisco, Tampa, they've got good defenses. The Steelers, on the road, they play hard. They're not very good, whatever. The Rams, you toasted them. But over 5 games, you're 17 yards worse than the worst offense in the league. You're 4 points worse than the worst offense in the league. Why is he out there? Don't tell me, Michael Thomas is hurt, Jarvis is hurt, he just came back, we dropped some passes, Kamara fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line against San Francisco. I know all that. The offense stinks. You're not doing anything this year, so try to improve the franchise when the team is shot. Put Jameis out there and see. Maybe you find a spark. Maybe you have something to build on for next year. Because from where I'm sitting, and we've talked about this now for a month, but from where I'm sitting, it looks really bleak over the next 2 years in New Orleans. And most of that is due to the quarterback play. Give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. So what if he throws 4 picks against Atlanta? I don't care. Better than putting Dalton out there and letting the offense go for 240 yards and 10 points. What do we accomplish there? Nothing. I'm making the switch. I've seen enough. And this team, there's nothing to gain from this 2022 Saints team. Dennis Allen is not going to do this. Mickey Loomis probably wouldn't advise him to do this. I don't even know if it gives you the best chance to win next week. I don't care. Give yourself a chance as a franchise, and the guy that you signed to a 2-year contract to be your starting quarterback, go back to him. But again, this is a season where every decision that Dennis Allen makes seemingly comes up snake eyes. I expect him to continue with Andy Dalton. I continue them to be one of the worst offenses in the league, and I think they'll keep losing. Get that good first-round pick, right? Nope. Trouble. Start Jameis, period. Little LSU news before we get to David Grubb from Hard in the Paint talking Pels as well as some Saints. I'll get his thoughts on this. Cole Taylor put himself in the transfer portal earlier today. That leaves you real thin at the tight end position. Mason Taylor's really the only guy you've got there. Jack Mashburn can help you. Mac Markway, big-time tight end that is committed to this class, so that's a nice piece, and I believe you'll go and get 1 or 2 transfers at that position. It's not a position. You could say the tight end position is losing its relevance throughout football. I would differ. Brian Kelly wants to use it, and we saw how important it was in that Bama game. So you'll have Mason Taylor, you'll have Jack Mashburn, you'll have Mac Markway. I think they get 1 or 2 more veteran tight ends in the transfer portal. I'll get Billy Embody's thoughts on that in hour number 2. And the other transfer out, Desmond Little, which is a little bit disappointing, not because he's been specifically productive as an LSU player. He has not. But you are losing Ojulari very likely. You are losing Ali Gay. You need some guys on the edge. And there are some guys that they like there. Jarrell Cherry, Xavier Carter, but Perkins plays there some, but Quincy Wiggins. But they're a little light there on guys that you can have on the edge. They're really light on guys that you can have on the interior too. They've got to do some work on the defensive front. So I think Desmond Little's a guy that would have played next year. I think that's very realistic to think. And he's decided he's going to look elsewhere. I don't know. That's a tough spot to evaluate somebody who's been on campus for a couple of years and hasn't really made any impact at all. But he's got the measurables, size, all the reasons why you would have recruited him and signed him to come in, and he's going to look elsewhere. So, Cole Taylor, obviously famous for the shoe throw, wasn't a big factor this year. You've seen some other guys dip into the transfer portal that you figure, man, that guy's probably never going to be a big impact player there. I think of the players that LSU has lost to the portal, because of the depth you have at wide receiver, Besh is an SEC player. He's good enough to play at LSU. There's no doubt. He's just in the middle of a monster room. Little's path to the field a little bit more easier to define. And so obviously he didn't see it that way, and he's going to look elsewhere. And, obviously, as you always say when guys transfer, wish them all the best. But that's a little bit of a hit to the LSU's front seven. As loaded as LSU looks on offense next year with guys coming back, depending on what the quarterback looks like, but as loaded as LSU is on offense, the defense has got a lot of holes to fill. A lot of holes to fill. There's some talent there, but a lot to deal with. So Desmond Little leaving nicks a little bit. And so you'll see what LSU can do to kind of fill those needs in the transfer portal. Speaking of LSU's offense, Mel Kiper's latest big board is out. I'll tell you where Jaden Daniels falls on that at 1:30 in about 20 minutes from right now. At the top of hour number 2, we're going to start grading SEC football seasons. Give you my thoughts, and Billy Embody of On 3 Sports going to be with us at 2:30. When we come back, David Grubb from Hard in the Paint talking Saints, and, of course, those first place in the Western Conference, New Orleans Pelicans. You're listening to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Start NFL 14 off right with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account. You'll get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Tonight you can bet Josh Jacobs over rushing yards, maybe David Carr over or under passing yards, Allen Robinson to score a touchdown. You can build your own same-game parlay. They've got your options there. Or choose one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. Sign up with that promo code 1045ESPN if you don't already have an account. If you have one, you're all set. Just sign in and see what you've got. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana, 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issues non-withdrawable free bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Every business is different, but B1 Bank knows that every business owner has similar needs. From streamlining accounts receivables to maintaining access to working capital, a trusted bank is your best asset for staying on top of day-to-day finances and planning for future business growth. At B1 Bank, I know I have access to commercial banking experts who care about the needs of my business and can guide me to accomplish my goals. B1 Bank knows that managing your business isn't simple, but they can help you make it uncomplicated.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
Do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today.
Join me, Jimmy Otten, handyman, for the Thursday edition of Game Time. We're live at Jolie Pearl. Oh, man, have you seen it? The elves have landed. Oh, it's like Christmas at Jolie Pearl. Ho, ho, Annie. On 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Everybody's got their favorite drops from 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge over the years. There's plenty, too many to even get into. But Jimmy's first ever ho-ho Hanny on Sports Today just sent me into stitches for some reason. It's stuck, and I love it. Those guys will be with you from Jolie Pearl tonight from 6 to 8 on Game Time. Well, as you pull up the NBA standings currently, you got the Celtics leading the way in the East at 21-5. They're pretty good. Get on to the Western Conference. New Orleans Pelicans at 16-8. First place in the Western Conference, winners of 5 straight. They will host the second-place Phoenix Suns Friday and Sunday. Should be incredible atmospheres over in the Blender. We bring in our guy David Grubb from Hard in the Paint. Talk a little Pels and maybe a little Saints if we have to. David, how are you?
I am doing very well, and these are the salad days. It has been a long time since the Pelicans/Hornets have been in this position.
No, for sure. I've asked a couple of different people this who are in that city and kind of feel the pulse of it better than we can over here in Baton Rouge. But I do know when it comes to LSU, if the football team kind of gets going south, loses 3 or 4 games, people start to kind of look to basketball. If the basketball team kind of hits a skid there in January, February, all eyes kind of flip to baseball. With the struggles the Saints have had, do you think that's kicked a little momentum, a little fan support, a little energy behind the Pelicans? It's not what you want, but has it happened?
I mean, I think it may have just brought maybe some more casual observers, but there was a lot of excitement for this team, coming into the season. Opening night was sold out well in advance. And the team started on the road, too. So you didn't really get a lot of – and I guess that kind of worked in their benefit to not have a lot of home games early. And now you're getting these big clusters. They had a 5-game homestand recently. They're in the middle of a 4-game homestand. And so they've gotten this great pocket of time while they've been playing very well to do it at home. And so, I think that's helped. The Saints not being great has certainly, like I said, brought in maybe some casuals. But people who have been waiting for this team all off season after what they did last year and into the playoffs, they were ready for this.
As kind of a novice NBA viewer who certainly understands the personalities in the game, there are some guys, in my view, that you may be able to make work to score, may be able to talk some trash to them, but essentially they're unguardable. The Durant's in their prime and the LeBron's, the Westbrook in his prime. When there are guys that are like that, you cannot really stop them. Has Zion ascended to that now that he's put together a stretch where he's been fairly healthy?
It's just about that. I think it's still, because it's still so early in his career, we're only talking 103, 104 games into his career. You're still in the stage where folks haven't had enough time to start to figure out what they're going to do defensively. It's the same thing, whether it's Michael Jordan, who, when he came in the league, like you said, LeBron, whatever, at some point you start figuring out what are you going to do defensively to counter. And then it becomes the great player's job to figure out how to counter that counter. Zion is still at the stage where the other team hasn't figured out how to counter. He's too strong. He's too fast. He's too agile. And right now he's at the advantage. So, and he's taking full advantage of that, especially over these last 4 games. He's maybe been the best player in the NBA. So, I just think Zion at this stage has hit a groove. and is playing fantastic basketball. And probably, if your team's first place in your conference and you're playing the way the Pelicans are, top 5 defense, the top 5 defense and offense in the NBA, maybe Zion should be in the MVP conversation.
Maybe they're not better than they were right at the end of last season when they played so well. But if so, what makes them better than they were down the stretch last year?
That defense.
Yeah.
The defense is at a whole different level than it was last year. The biggest problem the Pelicans had last season, and in probably every season they've had since the Anthony Davis trade, is they were horrible at defending the three-point shot. Absolutely horrible at it. Now they've got a bunch of really versatile, long, rangy defenders on the wings and at the forward spot that can close out on shooters. They're able to stay home more often as well because there are certain guys who are good individually. Like you have Herb Jones playing, and when he is playing, he's one of the elite one-on-one defenders in the league. Larry Nance Jr. is an elite one-on-one defender. Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy can be that. Najee Marshall can be that. So when you have more and more guys who can do their jobs, it makes it better for the team defensively. The Pelicans still have, some weaknesses defensively. They're not particularly great at protecting the rim, though Zion has been much better at that as of late. That has not been as big of an issue. They still, but they generate a lot of turnovers, and they're just so good defensively. They frustrate everyone. You saw last night another game where they held an opponent under 100, and I think Willie Green wins like 98% of the time when he holds an opponent under 100 points.
David Grubb from Hard in the Paint podcast here, our guest, talking a little bit of Pels. It's no secret that this franchise has waited for a group to love the city back as opposed to look for the first ticket out of town. I was so impressed with C.J. McCollum's attitude when he was traded to New Orleans last year and the way he embraced the city and the culture and building a winner here. But his play hasn't been great this year to the level certainly that it was last year. What seems to be the problem?
Well, for CJ, it's been a combination of things. Number one, he was injured at the early part of the season, and then he got sick and was out for about a week of games. So he hasn't gotten his legs back, and that's been very difficult for him to get his conditioning for his jump shot. The good thing for CJ is that he's continued to be a playmaker. But I think that, there may be a changing of the role eventually for him. He's on the back end of his prime. He's a guard, a smaller guard on the plus side of 30. So I think that at some point his role may change. You don't want to put him in the position to be playing 36 to 38 minutes a night. If they can manage his minutes and keep it around 29, 28, and Brandon Ingram is back on the floor, it gets a lot easier to put CJ in situations where he can score on his own and not have to maybe work so hard.
Team seems to have unbelievable chemistry. They seem to play together. They understand their roles. How do things change when Brandon Ingram comes back in terms of roles on the floor?
I don't think they do because they were playing very solid basketball with B.I. I think the big difference now is that Zion has bought in on the defensive end. Not that he wasn't trying before, but now there's whatever the trying is now turning into results. And so to have that when B.I. was already giving an effort defensively and had deferred at times offensively, but was still highly efficient, I don't think you have to worry about Ingram because when he and Zion played together, when the team was losing, they were a very efficient scoring duo, but Ingram struggled down the stretch of games. Well, now you have a Brandon Ingram who we've seen can be very clutch in the fourth quarter and a Zion Williamson that we've seen help close out games. I think that's only to the Pelicans' benefit. The main thing to watch for them the rest of the season is going to be their health and if their defense can remain consistent.
Chatting with David Grubb, Hard in the Paint podcast, talking a little Pels here. The Suns coming in for a Friday and Sunday double dip. Should be awesome inside the blender. How important are these two games? It's December.
Well, it's always important because you're trying to establish, your home court and possibly have the tiebreaker at the end of this regular season to have home court in the playoffs against the Suns. If the Pelicans are somehow the number one seed in the West at the end of the regular season, you'd much rather be playing Game 7 at the Blender than on the road at Phoenix. And I think this is a rivalry. It is an intense, emotional rivalry because of the connections that you have between the coaches and the players and the cities. You know, the players are connected to these cities for New Orleans in a big way. And so I think that it's important to set that tone. And like you said, you look at the top of the very top of the NBA, the Pelicans have already lost one game to the Celtics. They've lost one game to the Suns. This is a chance to win 2 against the Suns at home. And then next week you go on the road for 2 at Utah. And you've got the Milwaukee Bucks coming to the Smoothie King Center. So in a very short amount of time, the Pelicans are going to be put up against the very best in the NBA. And we'll get a good measuring stick of where they are now and what maybe they need to do to really become contenders.
That's really interesting. My next question was going to be, is this a legitimate NBA title contender at this point? Obviously, your answers we'll find out in a couple of weeks, but what's your gut tell you right now?
My gut says the West is wide open right now. You look at every team in the conference, and they're all flawed in some way. You've got some major question mark. So I think that the trade deadline becomes very critical in who's willing to pay what for whom. What makes it harder is that because so many teams are in contention, that means the price of everything goes up. If the Pelicans stand pat, I like their chances. I give them a puncher's chance to go deep into the playoffs and possibly represent the West. I'd still call that a long shot, considering they're inexperienced. But right now, they're as good as any team in the West, and certainly no one is playing better basketball.
Let's sadly transition over to the Saints. I made the plea in the first segment here as we enter the bye week. I said, look, I would just turn the keys over to Jameis to see if he can do anything that would lead you to believe he could be a force for you next year. Where are you on what the Saints can salvage from what's left here?
Yeah, I think that's the only question you have. If you're going to keep Andy Dalton as your backup next year, you've already made that decision. There's nothing that's going to change that for you. The question you have to ask is Jameis Winston viable? And I think you also, as an organization, I think you owe it to Jameis. Yeah. If he's healthy and can go, you're not playing for anything now except for the chance to stay to be 500 in the division. If you beat Atlanta and you beat Carolina, the Saints are 500. You're not playing for anything else but pride. And I think that the team would like to see Jameis get the opportunity. I think it might give them some energy at a time when they really need it. And I think it also would send a message to the league, to other players, too, as you're trying to rebuild this franchise. That is a player-friendly organization, that you're going to do the right thing by your players. And I think that there's a perception that the promise that they made to Jameis in some way was broken, whether that's genuine or not, whether it's the business or not. Perception can become reality. But I don't see what you have to lose at this point by not starting Jameis Winston.
It's a great point, David. We really appreciate the time. Should be a fun weekend down there in the blender with the Suns in full repair. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Absolutely. That's David Grubb, Hard in the Paint podcast, talking Saints and Pelicans. All right, when we come back, Mel Kiper's big board is out for quarterbacks. I will tell you where Jaden Daniels falls, where that may lead to his future. That's next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm headed over to LWCC here pretty shortly, and I can't wait to get over there. See some of my friends at LWCC. They are Louisiana loyal, celebrating and celebrating champions of Louisiana each and every day here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. All December long, we're telling you about Mimosa Handcrafted. Their founder, Madeline Ellis, her husband, Dawson, they put together an incredible organization with Mimosa Handcrafted. What began as a hobby for Madeline has taken off as a business, and they're doing such great work with their handcrafted jewelry. Today, Mimosa donates 1% of every sale through Goods for Good campaign, allowing customers to select from a list of charitable causes such as the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, the Mental Health Association for Greater Baton Rouge, any that the customer may choose after purchasing something from Mimosa Handcrafted. Mimosa Handcrafted's first brick-and-mortar location just opened up on South Eugene Street. It's right next to Red Stick Reeds, and it's just in time for your holiday shopping. If you know of someone like Madeline Ellis, who is a champion for Louisiana, go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions. Nominate them, nominate a nonprofit, nominate some entity so that we can tell their story right here as it deserves to be told on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Mimosa Handcrafted, December's champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird.
Coming up on Friday's OTB, Jake Hester joins us live from Philly at Army Navy. Plus, preview the #1 Pelicans against the #2 Suns in a brand new Degen Dome. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Transfer portal continues to churn. Billy Embody on 3 Sports going to be with us in an hour. Talk about LSU as far as the high school recruiting ranks as well as what's going on in the portal as well. Excited to chat with Billy coming up at 2:30. Mel Kiper came out with his quarterback big board, and I thought it was interesting, so I'll relay some of my thoughts as well as what it means for Jaden Daniels. Will Levis is still #1. Man, I don't know that I get it. I think I'm in the same boat as just about everybody. Kiper loves him. He doesn't just make stuff up. He talks to NFL execs all year long. They clearly love him. He is big. He's pretty fast. He's got a big arm. Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. I don't know. He didn't look to play very well in any game to me. So he's #1. I cannot imagine drafting him in front of Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud after watching those two guys play the last couple of years. But that's 2 and 3 on Mel Kiper's board. Will Levis 1, Bryce Young 2, C.J. Stroud 3. Anthony Richardson at 4. Another big, fast, strong. Can't really teach that kind of stuff. Wouldn't be my guy that I drafted. It's just the throwing motion doesn't look great. The accuracy doesn't look great. It looks like a lot of running to me. But again, I'm not a guy that would have drafted Jalen Hurts either, and he's playing really good football. Jaden Daniels is 5 on this list in front of Hendon Hooker, who is number 6. Stetson Bennett comes in at 9. So it's Levis, Young, Stroud, Richardson, Daniels. So 5th quarterback. We understand how aggressive NFL GMs are at drafting quarterbacks. A shout out to Matthew Bruni, who was on our show yesterday over at On 3. I stole this research from him over there on their message board. The 5th quarterback taken in the last 5 drafts reads like this. In this past draft, the 5th quarterback taken was Bailey Zappi. That was in the 4th round. That's the latest of these 5. In 2022, Mac Jones was the 5th quarterback taken, 15th overall. So a little different there. Jalen Hurts in 2020 was the 5th quarterback taken. He was a 2nd-round pick. Will Grier was the 5th quarterback taken in the 2019 draft. He was a 3rd-rounder, taken 100th overall. And in 2018, Lamar Jackson was the 5th quarterback taken. He was the 32nd pick. So you had Zappi in the 4th, Mac Jones in the 1st, Jalen Hurts in the 2nd, Will Grier in the 3rd, Lamar Jackson in the 1st. You're looking at worst case scenario somewhere in the 4th round. I think more likely somewhere in the 2nd to 3rd round for Jaden Daniels. That's less based on what we saw as an LSU Tiger and more based on the absolute land rush to go get quarterbacks in the draft. So if you're looking at Jaden Daniels, you say, okay, I could be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. What do you think about that? I think it sounds attractive. These guys are valued by their organization when you invest that kind of draft capital. It's not like a 6th or 7th rounder that a couple of weeks into camp may be catching a flight out of town. How much better can he be this year? How much improvement to his stock can there be? I'll tell you this. You bring back both your tackles, and you've got a competition at center. So you're going to feel pretty good about your center and your 2 tackles, and the wide receiver core is excellent. So it's a pretty good spot, your 2nd year in the system, to make some strides. Do I think Jaden Daniels can move into the top 15 picks? That would shock me. You're already looking at next year's quarterback class. You figure you're looking at Drake May and Caleb Williams as very, very likely top 10 picks. It would be unlikely to me, although very, very possible. We watched Joe Burrow do this, so trying to compare people to Burrow is one thing, but it can happen. To have an extremely good last season. Hendon Hooker just did that. I don't think he was on a ton of draft boards last year. Now, I think he is. Certainly would have been a little bit higher than 6th on this had he not torn his knee up, in my opinion. But to me, this is going to be close. I don't pretend to have any inside sources. I don't pretend to have talked to Jaden Daniels. I don't know what his decision's going to be. But I think there's one to be made. And then you start to worry about time frame. I don't know what the injury does to that. I don't know what the injury does to the bowl game. And we've already seen that Will Levis is not going to play in his bowl game. There are a lot of variables here that didn't used to exist. Not everybody's hurt. Not everybody can opt out. They didn't 5-10 years ago. And there was no NIL. And I don't know what Jaden makes here. And if it's worth sticking around for another year, maybe you inflate that a little bit. And I don't know that maybe if we're just throwing out scenarios, maybe Jaden's too banged up to risk his ankle in this game against Purdue, and Nussmeier goes out there and throws for 363 and 5 touchdowns. I don't know. Then what? But Kuiper is not making stuff up. Like I said, he gets this sourced from organizations. And they might not tell him everything, but he does speak to enough people to understand Jaden Daniels is thought of as a reasonably high pick in this draft. I don't think he would have been 15 years ago. If you start to look at some of the success that guys who are really fast and play quarterback have, it's a good portion of the league now. So it's interesting. I personally would not have put him above Hendon Hooker. Probably would have had him bump down a few pegs. But this is going to be something to follow. And so what's the time frame look like? Well, portal's open till the middle of January. So you look at, I don't figure Jaden Daniels is going anywhere. Guys that would leave LSU would be Walker Howard or Garrett Nussmeier, very likely. Don't know what their plans are. But you got the bowl game, you got the portal, and you got an opportunity to declare. I feel like the structure of the organization at LSU is such that LSU will be prepared for this decision no matter what it is. I believe that Brian Kelly will sit down with almost all his players, maybe all of them, maybe all the players, but certainly these three quarterbacks and say, hey, what do you think? What is your plan? What do you need? What information can I give you? And what information can you give me about the decision that you're going to make over the next 40 days? And so while I won't know, and you, the listener, won't know, and Joe with the Twitter profile won't know, and everybody at your Christmas dinner who's talking about next football season may not know, I believe the lines of communication, the organization and the structure over there in the football ops building will have the information necessary to put LSU in the best position moving into spring football. Again, that's my assumption based on what's gone on over the last 12 months. I think it's fair to believe that Jaden Daniels will talk to Brian Kelly, that Garrett Nussmeier will talk to Brian Kelly, and that Walker Howard will talk to Brian Kelly. Because right now, as you sit here, you feel very comfortable with the quarterback situation. It can change like that. So fast. Just a couple years ago, LSU had two quarterbacks leave the program on the same day in fall camp. So it's going to be interesting. And I don't have a strong lean. I think there are a lot of people listening that do. My personal opinion is that the strength of LSU's offense next year will be in the passing game. In my opinion, there's a better chance, again, my opinion, there's a better chance that Garrett Nussmeier, if given the keys to the offense, would cut down some of the reckless throws and would still make a lot of big plays in the passing game than it is that Jaden Daniels would start letting it fly and be prolific through the air as opposed to a little hesitant. Maybe that's wrong. Just feels like my opinion. If you told me LSU had to throw for 3,300 yards next year or the football program folds, I'm probably going with Nussmeier. That's not how it works. Trying to win games. And Daniels did a lot of that this year. And sometimes he did most of it himself. So I don't have a strong feeling on who the best quarterback is for next year for LSU. I do have a strong feeling that LSU will be in position to make that happen and to be in a good spot entering the spring. But it's a different world that we're not all used to. So these discussions are framed in a way that they've never been framed before. Good to have a lot of talent there. Just can't expect it all to stick around for a very long time. That's the nature of college football these days. We'll come back as we do every single Thursday. We'll look at the NFL slate. Best win on the board, worst loss on the board. I'll grade some papers coming up at 2 o'clock. Grades for every SEC football season as far as the expectations of that program and the results on the field. Billy Embody of On 3, talking transfer portal and recruiting. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. That's the motto of One Bath and Closets. We'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. How many times has a contractor, whatever they may be doing, come to your home and it looked like they were making every attempt to get to the next job because that's where the next check's coming from. Not David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Whether it's a remodel, a renovation to your bathroom, a tub to shower conversion, they can do it. Or if it's closet space that you so desperately need in your home, it's not a great time to move right now. Doesn't mean you can't improve your living conditions. Let David Duvall and his team come in, start the process with a questionnaire, understand what you have, what you want, and get you into a much better closet space. How awesome would that be for you? Maybe the woman in your life, certainly the case for me. One Bath and Closets is your stop for that. If you tell them that 104.5 ESPN sent you, that you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show, 30% off your closet renovation and remodel. 30% off. One Bath and Closets, I'll say it again, they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
My dad just really enjoyed his life, and he enjoyed smoking cigars and thought he was invincible. My stepdad quit smoking, and he really felt like he was in the clear. Sorry. I wish they would have been screened annually. It's not just you affect, it's your entire family.
For more information on Ochsner's free smoking cessation program and to see if you qualify for early lung screenings, visit ochsner.org/quit.
Nearly half of children in foster care drop out of school. But you can rewrite that story. Children and youth with CASA and GAL volunteers are more likely to succeed in school. Change a child's story. Become a volunteer today.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Former Tiger Glenn Logan stops by. We'll visit with Paul Nolan, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I missed this, came out about 30 minutes ago, and I tried in the break to look this up. I'm 95% sure that I know the protocol here, but I'm not 100% sure. So take it with 95% measure. I talked yesterday about LSU's secondary and the shape that they would be in moving forward, and they were real thin. And I said that Mekhi Gardner has not announced anything to my knowledge. However, he did participate in senior night, which seems to me to be a pretty strong indication of where your head is. He also just accepted an invite to the East-West Shrine game. I don't believe you can play in that game and then go back and play in college. Again, I don't know that. But every indication at this point is that Mekhi Gardner will not be on the team next year. So you're looking at a secondary you're going to have to pretty much totally overhaul once again, depending on what Seven Banks decides to do. I think Major Burns will still be back. Sage Ryan should be back. Nothing's ever sure in these portal days, but Mekhi Gardner, I think, would have been your number one corner coming back if he decided to with that extra year of eligibility. If you participate in senior night and you are in the East-West Shrine game, I think that ship has sailed. And I think he's a very, very draftable prospect and will very likely make an NFL roster. Doesn't help LSU much, though, if he does that. So, again, 95% sure you don't play in the East-West Shrine game and come on back and play in college. But now that NIL and payment and all that stuff's kind of legal, I lose track of rules. I think Mekhi Gardner's time in Baton Rouge is done, though, after the bowl game, if he even plays in the bowl game. Best win, worst loss on the board in the NFL to close out our number one. To me, best win on the board would be the 7-5 Jets going to Buffalo and getting a win. The Jets right now are the 7 seed. A loss would put them very much on the bubble. You go on the road and get a win to go to 8-5. That gives you breathing room on New England and the Chargers. So, look, that's a really tough place to play. It's a really good team they're playing. The Jets on the road at Buffalo, in my opinion, would be the best win on the NFL slate. The worst loss is actually anyone who plays the Texans. I think we can pretty much, at this point, put that to bed. So I'm not going to take the lowest hanging fruit every single week, find the Texans game, go, man, if you lose that game, you're really in trouble. So for this week, Taylor Sharp, the Cowboys are off the hook with the Texans at home. That would be the worst loss, but we're not going to talk about that one. The worst loss to me would be Seattle. Seattle's 7-5. They are also the 7 seed. There's the theme there. You cannot, sitting there as a 7 seed, lose to the Panthers at home. The Panthers don't have a quarterback. The Panthers don't have a coach. The Panthers don't have any hope. The Panthers stink. Seattle right now is in. If they lose this game to the Panthers to go to 7-6, their next 2 weeks are San Francisco. I know the quarterback situation. That roster's still tough to line up and play against. And then Kansas City. That is no picnic. So no one expected Seattle to be here. You start shipping off Hall of Famers by the truckload, we don't get the sense that you're locked in to make the playoffs this year. But all of a sudden you look up, middle of December, you're 7-5, and you got a team coming to your house that can't win. You better not let them win. So my best win in the NFL would be the Jets going to Buffalo to improve to 8-5 and give them some breathing room in the AFC. My worst loss, another 7 seed, would be Seattle losing to the Panthers at home. Again, the next 2 weeks for Seattle could be a little bit brutal. That'll just about do it in hour number one. I want to remind you to check out dropbiscuit.com, browse our growing library. While you're there, you can be sure to subscribe to Pops, Fame, You Talking to Me, For the People, Well Stated, or whatever Southern flavored audio biscuit you may fancy. Dropbiscuit.com. Speaking of For the People, that's John Peterson and JJ Colleen. They answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studio podcast, For the People. You can download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com. I've been telling you about hockey, Baton Rouge Pro Hockey. They will be playing tonight in the River Center. We gave away some tickets yesterday. You want to go check out some pro hockey in Baton Rouge tonight. 7 o'clock, the puck drops. I knew the puck drops. See? I know some hockey stuff. Over at the River Center, $10 on Ticketmaster or at the River Center box office. So looking for something to do tonight with the kiddos, take them out and see some hockey over at the River Center. Trying to see if Baton Rouge is a market they want to expand this league to. And we'll see if we can get a little bit of a crowd here over this 3-game stretch. It's tonight, next Thursday, and the first week in January. 3 hockey games here in the Red Stick. If you missed any of hour number one, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page. You can also catch it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you catch your audio or your video in YouTube case. We appreciate you for searching Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. We appreciate y'all in the Bayou Ford chat right now. Throw us a like. We'd appreciate it. Started the show off. I made my case to start Jameis Winston. It's time. You got a month left. No sense in trotting Andy Dalton back out there. I stated my case for that. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint echoed my sentiments there. And we also talked a little bit about the first place Pelicans. Mel Kiper's big board of quarterbacks at 1:30. Went through all that. What does it mean for Jaden Daniels? We will kick off hour number 2. I'll start grading some papers here. SEC teams based on their expectation. How did they perform this past year? We'll go through the entire SEC West. We'll go through the entire SEC East. Billy Embody of On 3 Sports going to be with us at 2:30 talking Cruton, and we never get out of here without a little bit of take it or leave it. We will throw things into the timeout here for a little bit of Sports Center. Come on back on the other side with us. You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show right here on the Capital City's leader in sports talk, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Winter can be magical. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here, and there's no better time to check out our new Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge inventory. We have the vehicles that can make your holiday extraordinary. See all the latest technological features on the newest models during our Mercedes-Benz Winter Event. Shop our best of the best award-winning dealership. Visit mbobr.com.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Russia has freed WNBA star Brittany Griner in a dramatic high-level prisoner exchange, with the U.S. releasing a notorious Russian arms dealer. This ends Griner's nearly 10-month detainment imprisonment in Russia on drug charges. ESPN basketball analyst and LA Sparks forward Chiney Ogwumike.
We just are so grateful that she is on her way home. She is family to us. We are grateful for those who have worked tirelessly around the clock to make this happen. I think it just reminds us that, the real work, the true work will never go in vain, and that the power of sports collectively, particularly as women, cannot be ignored.
Janae on Get Up. President Joe Biden said Griner was expected to be back in the U.S. within 24 hours. NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter's reporting if Rams quarterback John Wolford's not healthy enough to play tonight against the Raiders, Baker Mayfield would be in line to start. Rookie Desmond Ridder will replace Marcus Mariota as the Falcons' starting quarterback. Former Cowboys coach Jason Garrett among the finalists for the Stanford head coaching job. Heisman favorite USC quarterback Caleb Williams voted Associated Press College Football Player of the Year.
How would you love a chance to save some money on car insurance? Geico can help. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote and get started seeing how much you could save.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Thursday. Getting closer to the end of that work week. Feel it. A lot to get to here over the next hour. If you're worried about Javian Toviano, Desmond Ricks, you're worried about tight ends out of the portal, who's going to play cornerback, who's playing quarterback in the bowl game. We'll get to all that with Billy Embody of the Bengal Tiger on 3 at the bottom of this hour. But for the first 30 minutes of the hour, I'm going to play teacher here. I'm going to give some grades out. I don't know that I'm the easiest grader. I'm certainly not grading on a curve. I don't think I'm unfair either. Just going to go through every team in the SEC now that the dust is settled on the regular season and give out a grade. You can't do this after the bowl anymore. I mean, I guess for the playoff teams you can. Who's playing in the bowl? Who's not playing in the bowl? Whose coach is there? None of that stuff. It's just the bowls have lost their value. Used to be really important to wake up on New Year's Day and see how the Big Ten fared against the SEC. Who's going to do their chants? Now it's like, okay, what, the fourth team quarterback was out there, and the offensive coordinator's already recruiting for the school that hired him? Oh, and there are 3 wide receivers left in the portal, and 1 sat the game out to play to get for the draft? How are we supposed to do anything? The regular season is where it counts. So I'm going to hold the SEC West for the next segment. And we'll start with the East. We're going to start from the top. That's Georgia. They went 13-0, won the league, 8-0 in conference play. 9-0 if you count the championship game. That's an A+ for me. Duh. But, yeah, you sleptwalked through Kent State. Missouri wasn't all that pretty. I don't know that Kentucky was a work of art either. But when you needed to show up and play, you showed up and play. You embarrassed LSU. You embarrassed Kentucky. You embarrassed Oregon. And it's not easy to do. The Fromm team got to overtime of the title game. Then they got knocked down a peg. And then you win the title, get over the hump in 2021, but you lose the whole defense to the NFL, and you still played great. So Kirby has established the new standard in college football right now. They may not win it in January. I think they will. They may not. But what they've put on the field the last 2 years, in my opinion, has been significantly better than Alabama. Now, Alabama beat them last year in the conference title game, I know. But Georgia right now is the standard in the sport, and an A+ season for them, for me. Tennessee, Vols. I talked about them yesterday. how much went out the window that fateful night in Columbia. You lost the Heisman. You lost the playoff. You lost Coach of the Year. Maybe you lost to Politnikov. I don't know. You lost a lot. But you went 10-2, 6-2 in the league. And I'm going to give you an A for that. Look, you got the massive chip off your shoulder, the monkey off your back, whatever cliche you want to use, by beating Florida and Alabama. And you found an identity for your program. Going really fast, scoring a lot of points, being a lot of fun. You had one bad night this year. I'm not calling the day in Athens awful. Georgia's really good. That night in Columbia was awful. So you're not an A+, but it's an A for me. I think Tennessee really put its feet under it this year. Now, we'll see how much of that was Hendon Hooker and how much of that can be replicated as time goes on with the other quarterbacks that Josh Heupel brings in, but you feel like he'll be able to recruit some quarterbacks to go play in that offense. So an A for Tennessee. South Carolina finished third in the East. 8-4, 4-4 in the league. I got that as a B+ for South Carolina. They won 7 of their last 9. Did you realize that? They won 7 of their last 9 games. They beat Kentucky. They beat Tennessee with Hendon Hooker on the field for the majority of that game. It was already decided when Hooker went down, very likely. They beat Clemson. Beating Kentucky, Tennessee, and Clemson, based on where those teams and what we thought of those teams in August, that's impressive for South Carolina. The Missouri loss stinks. Didn't show up against Florida, got beat 38-6. But overall, I think good for South Carolina, coming off a year where they played approximately 3,600 quarterbacks. The assistant coach was playing quarterback for them at one point. I think things are in a better spot now. And they get a B+ from me. Kentucky, 7-5 on the season. They went 3-5 in league play. Quite frankly, that's a D for me. I know it's Kentucky. Having massive expectations for Kentucky is probably not a great practice. Hester loves the Cats. But you handled Florida early. Nice showing over Mississippi State midseason, 27-17, good win. But you had Will Levis on your team, who Mel Kiper just said is the number 1 quarterback on the board. Talent is obvious with the speed and whatever. Production, decision-making, whatever. But size, speed, you got Levis. As talented a quarterback as you're going to get at Kentucky more often than not. And you got last in the SEC in total offense, and you lost to Vanderbilt. Coming off a 10-win season with that quarterback, last in the league in total offense and lost to Vanderbilt, that's a D. 3-5 in league play, not good for Kentucky this year. Florida, 6-6 on the season, 3-5 in SEC play. Not a ton of expectation for Florida this year. Napier, year 1. It kind of fell apart there on Mullen, and you realize that. But 6-6 and 3-5 in the league is still a C- to me for Florida. Utah win was nice. Look at what happened to Utah. Won the Pac-12, second year in a row, and you beat them. Impressive win over South Carolina, 38-6. But 6-6 is not good enough at Florida forever, a really good grade. And you got handled by Vanderbilt. Handled. So there's a lot of Florida Gators in the transfer portal. Maybe that's a good thing because Napier tries to bring in some new guys. But 6-6, 3-5 in the league and getting smacked around by Vanderbilt, that's a C- for me. Missouri, another 6-6, 3-5 in the league. I'll give it a C. I'll give Missouri a C. The Auburn loss changes this. This is a B- or a B if they would have won that Auburn game, where you're fumbling it out of the end zone to lose it. You're botching field goals at the end of regulation. That's a long time ago. Maybe some of you don't quite remember it. They choked on a chicken bone at Auburn. 7-5 looks a little bit better, but they got to 6-6 because they won 4 of their last 6 games after a 2-4 start. You win 4 of your last 6, and in your last 2 league games, Brady Cook, who's back next year, ran for 100-plus yards. So is it a thing of beauty in Columbia, Missouri? It is not. Will they have a lot of preseason love next year? They will not. Did they win 4 or 6 down the stretch, have a quarterback play a little bit better and get to a bowl game? They did, 6-6. I'll give them a C. And then you got Vandy. 5-7 on the year, finished 2-6, had a chance to get to bowl eligibility, and Tennessee beat them by 1,000. But I give them a B. They hadn't won a league game in 3 years. And they won 2 this year. Now look, your scoring offense was 12th in the league. That's not great. Your scoring defense was 14th in the league. That's last. I wouldn't suggest it was an incredible season for the Doors. I don't think they'll hang any banners. But I had them 0-8 and probably would have laid some lettuce on it if I was into that type of thing more frequently. You won 2 games. You won 5 total. The win total was what, 2? 2.5? Most teams don't double their win total. So Clark Lee and his team gets a B. So for me, Georgia, A+, Tennessee, A. South Carolina gets a B+, Kentucky, a D. Florida, a C-, Mizzou, a C. And Vanderbilt gets a B on the year. We'll come back with the SEC West, but we want a Citizens Bank poll question of the day. How would you grade LSU's year? A, B, B-, C, D. How's that? We'll give you those 4 options, and then we'll see what you think at the end of the hour. Billy Embody with us in 20 minutes talking portal. Back with the rest of the grades for the SEC West on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Now's the perfect time to download FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers are getting a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Sign up with that promo code 1045 ESPN. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets. They got your money line, point spread, player props. You can live bet during the game if you see a trend you like. The odds change right there at the tip of your fingers. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Sign up today with that promo code 1045 ESPN for that no-sweat first bet. That's promo code 1045 ESPN. And make every moment more this season with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issues non-withdrawable free bets expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
A third of youth who grow up in foster care are homeless 18 months after aging out of care. But you can rewrite that story. Change a child's story. Become a volunteer today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew.
Me, Jimmy Otten, the handyman for the Thursday edition of Game Time. We're live at Jolie Pearl. Oh man, have you seen it? The elves have landed. Oh, it's like Christmas at Jolie Pearl. Ho, ho, Annie! On 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's keep the grades rolling. Did the SEC East in the last segment. Let's hand them out in the West. We start at the top, which is relevant, with LSU, the champions of the SEC West. I'll give you a B+. I will give you a B+. You win at A&M, it's an A, pushing an A+. You're ahead of schedule, but that loss to Florida State stings with the way it happened. You were not competitive with Tennessee. A&M was a total joke. But you did beat Bama and Auburn and Florida in the same year, and that's fun, and that's good. And you won the West, and you played in Atlanta. So more good than bad, but still some bad. I think some people may give you an A. Some people may give you an A+ just on the merit of winning the West. But I think B+ is fair to this point. Bama. Tide finished 10-2 on the season. I'm giving you a C. You got the best quarterback in the history of the school, and you lose 2 games. Plus, you had close calls with Texas and an awful A&M team. It's relative to expectation here, and Bama didn't come close. You had, what was the narrative all offseason long? Best player in college football on offense, best player on college football on defense. Brought in Jahmyr Gibbs, 5-star running back. Got all this talent. 10-2, Sugar Bowl? That's a C for me, for the Tide. Mississippi State, curious case here. They went 8-4, 4-4 in league play. I'm giving them a B. The offense stunk in the second half against LSU, was not good in Lexington. There's still no match for Bama. We knew that. That offense doesn't work against a team that's well coached like Bama and has great players like Bama. They scored 1 touchdown in 3 years. But you won 8 games. You beat Ole Miss in Oxford. You hammered A&M. You hammered Arkansas. And that's really towards the ceiling of what Mississippi State can be. Year in and year out, you win 8 games in Starkville. That's a success. So I'm not giving you an A because it certainly wasn't perfect. But I'll give you a B there. Ole Miss, man, they were riding high when they came into Baton Rouge undefeated, weren't they? Talking playoff, national championship contender. I literally asked Nick Suss that the Thursday of that week. So are they a national championship contender? That's a conversation we had. He said he didn't think so. Turned out they weren't. But they were undefeated at that point. They were running the football really well. Quarterback was playing pretty good. Then all of a sudden you look up at the end of the season and the Rebs have gone 8-4, just like Mississippi State. 4-4 in the league, and they lost to State. It's a C for me in Oxford. You lost 4 of your last 5. And look, your SEC wins this year for Ole Miss. Did you check this? Who they beat? They beat Kentucky in Oxford. You remember that game? Kentucky fumbled twice in the red zone. That sealed it. That was one of your wins. You beat Vanderbilt. You beat A&M. You beat Auburn. Those are the worst 3 teams in the league. You beat Kentucky with some forced turnovers, but turnovers late. Vandy, Auburn, and A&M. I can't give you much more than a C there. It wasn't a total disaster, but I got to give you a C. Arkansas. Coach Pittman's Hogs. They went 6-6 this year. They were 3-5 in the SEC. That's a D for me for Arkansas. You were 9-4 last year. You brought back both coordinators. You brought back Barry Odom on defense. You brought back Kendall Browse on offense. You brought back your quarterback who played great football last year. Really did. Took care of it, ran it, threw it around, played well. There's real optimism that you're building a great culture in Arkansas. As Josh Pate from 247 would always say, people with choices are choosing Arkansas. Dwight McGlothern, Drew Sanders, those guys were high-profile programs and would have played and chose Arkansas. They landed some recruits. Hazelwood and receiver. Thinking, man, they're getting some talent there. And then you come in with all that expectation off a 9-win season. You go 6-6. You lose to Liberty. You lost to Missouri again. They have trouble getting over that hump for some reason. Now, they dominated Ole Miss in South Carolina, so it wasn't a total failure for Arkansas. But they expected more than they got this year, quite frankly. So that's a D for me for the Hogs. Auburn, 6th place in the league by virtue of a tiebreaker over Ole Miss. Over A&M. Auburn went 5-7, fired their coach midway through the season, went through 3 quarterbacks. They were 2-6 in league play. It's an F. It's Auburn. It's not Vanderbilt. You don't get passing grades for 2-6. You were a disaster at coach. You were a disaster at quarterback. You did have one good night. You brought Cadillac in as the interim. You filled Jordan Hare, and you got a win. And in that game, you scored 13 points. It was not a great football game. But you did have one night that was great. But this is Auburn. Home of some Heisman winners. Home of national championships. They've played for 2 in the last 15 years and had another undefeated season previously. I'm sorry. You go 2-6 in the league, 5-7. That's an F. And I'm giving Auburn an F. And then you got A&M, who finished last in the West. 5-7, 2-6 in the league. Now, if you sign up for the ACT or you sit down in a class, call it Biology 1001 in college, and you miss every question, and on the last question, you get it right. So you get one question right on the test. What's your grade? It's an F. It's an F for A&M. Yeah, they beat LSU. Dominated them from the first drive through into the football game. No doubt. And that feels good for the people in College Station. And I'm telling you, because of the rabbit ears that I have, I've spent some time over in Texag's world. They're all giddy. Fired the OC, going to get a new one. Only guys that have left in the transfer portal for the most part were not expected to be big contributors. Yeah, Denver Harris got asked to leave. Chris Marshall got asked to leave. A couple 5-stars. They got a 5-star running back commitment yesterday. They think Wigman's the next Heisman winner. The App State and Auburn and UMass and all that's in the rearview mirror. They have totally forgotten somehow. That's how quick that can go. And I'll tell you, after the A&M game last year, I sat in the postgame show and said, thank God that's over and we're 0-0 again, because you knew LSU wasn't going to a bowl game. And that's the way that A&M feels right now. But soon they forget, it was a 5-7 year. They won 2 league games. They lost to App State. And Jimbo is still calling the offense. It was a disastrous fall for a team that started the season in the top 10. So that, to me, is a failing grade. So in the West, I've got LSU at a B+. I've got Bama at a C. Mississippi State, a B. Ole Miss Rebels, C. Arkansas with a D. Auburn and Texas A&M, that's a failing grade. Sorry. Those are your grades. How'd I do? Let me know in the Bayou 4 chat what you think of doling those out. Again, I just don't think there's any merit to waiting until the bowl game anymore to determine the worth of your season. Sure, if Bama wins the Sugar Bowl, that's a really nice win in an NFL stadium, and that's fine. If Georgia wins the national championship, that is the most important thing. But for the vast majority of those playing, whether you're in the Tax Slayer Bowl or the Texas Bowl or the Liberty Bowl or the Music City Bowl or even LSU going to play a coachless team in the Citrus Bowl, it just doesn't have as big an impact as it used to. And it really, to me, doesn't dictate what your season was. That's the first 12 games in LSU's case, 13 with the trip to the SEC championship. That's just the way I feel now. So those are my grades for the SEC football programs. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are in the spirit to rock your holidays. How are they doing it? With $15,000 in cash. It's our 15K holidays. Head over to 1045ESPN.com, register to win a $15,000 national cash prize or a $1,500 local cash prize. The 15K holiday is powered by Citizens Bank and Trust and 1045 ESPN. Excited to talk to Billy Embody here coming up after this timeout. If you're in the Bayou 4 chat right now, are there any players or positions or issues that you want me to raise to Billy Embody? I'm happy to do so. So jump in the Bayou 4 chat right now on YouTube and get your questions, comments in there, and we'll get to Billy Embody from On 3 next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
Coming up on Friday's OTB, Jake Hester joins us live from Philly at Army-Navy. Plus, preview the #1 Pelicans against the #2 Suns in a brand new Degen Dome. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Working through your Thursday here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Glad you're hanging out with us. We'll head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. So we'll find Billy Embody of the Bengal Tiger on 3. Billy, how are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing all right. You broke some news over about an hour ago that Mekhi Garner is headed to the East-West Shrine Bowl and the 2023 NFL Draft. Does that surprise you, 1? And 2, what does it mean for LSU?
It doesn't surprise me too much. I spoke with somebody in his camp, and I had heard that he was probably going to end up going pro. He's got a child that he's focused in on kind of taking care of, and he's played a lot of college football too. Even with the Raging Cajuns. So I think after this year, his stock was pretty high, and with his size, he felt like it was probably time to take that next step and go pro. So. Kind of one of those things where he felt really good about what he put together in Baton Rouge in just 1 year and opted to go pro. So he'll get a shot to shine at the Shrine Bowl and improve his stock even more. But, I think for LSU, this just makes it even more important to close out on these corners that they have on the top of their recruiting board down the stretch here. Guys like Javian Toviano, guys like Desmond Ricks, see if the transfer portal is going to yield guys that they go after at the cornerback position. Will they go after Denver Harris, the 5-star who is leaving Texas A&M? Gavin Holmes is another interesting name out of Wake Forest, who's a New Orleans native and is getting some serious attention from college coaches. So they have some options on that front to close this out and really improve the roster at that position, and I think they'll be gunning to do that.
Give us a timeline and kind of an update on Toviano and Ricks. I know that they're a little bit different.
Toviano just set his commitment date for December 15th. He's got Georgia, Michigan, Texas A&M, and then, of course, LSU as his finalist. And I think all signs at this point point to him being at LSU. It's the only campus that we know he's been on really since July. He was at Bayou Splash. He was at multiple LSU home games, including the Alabama game where he rushed the field. He didn't end up showing up to Texas or Texas A&M. And, it's the only thing. He has never named a leader He's not given a silent commitment from what we understand. And I think unless there's a big surprise, though, I think he ends up at LSU, and he'd be a really important land because he's physically ready to go. He could play corner. He could play safety. I think he's somebody that has a chance to play early because of that physical readiness that he already has. And then Desmond Ricks is set to announce on December 22nd. Florida is going to make a big push with Corey Raymond, and they're not going to let up, especially since they missed out on Cormani McClain to Miami. And then Alabama hosts him this weekend for an official visit, and Nick Saban went in home this week. Billy Napier went in home this week. And then you've got LSU, who gets the last official visit. There's a lot of positivity around LSU's chances with Desmond Ricks, but it's just one of those recruitments that could get really wild down the stretch. A player like him, college coaches need. They completely change kind of how you game plan and how you might run your defense. So I'm interested to see where he ends up because, it'll be one of those tests of, LSU's NIL capabilities. They have a really good class assembled right now. But when you get into a battle like this for a national recruit who's not from, doesn't really have too many ties, and it's down to the wire with National Signing Day approaching for him, and he's going to enroll early. If you can get him on board and get him done, I mean, that flexes a lot of muscle that a lot of college coaches and a lot around the country will take notice of with Brian Kelly and LSU.
We know that LSU had to play a game on Saturday, so now you're ramping up towards early signing period. You got these announcements coming up, as well as the transfer portal at full steam ahead. We're all kind of adapting to this schedule. What are these couple of weeks like for the LSU staff before game plans and bowl practice starts here pretty shortly?
Sleepless.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I mean, we've talked a lot about the calendar for college football. And I was talking with somebody the other day about it, and I mean, it's got to be changed. There's got to be maybe, the signing period for high school is moved up to right before, playoffs start for a lot of these guys. And, they can get their decisions done. And then when December hits, you could have a transfer portal window that they have to navigate still with bowl practices for most and things like that. But at least where the high school guys stand. You could still host guys for the remainder of your regular season. And then, the high school period could go dead until January, and then maybe it's a January push. But, I mean, they're balancing recruiting transfers, recruiting high school players, recruiting their own roster, bowl game planning. I mean, it's truly insane, and you're seeing some good coaches head off to the NFL and also some that will probably eventually head back to the NFL or off to the NFL because there's no off season for college football coaches. There really isn't. So it's a truly insane time, and they're just kind of trying to get through it until the dead period hits on December 18th, and then the early signing period gets underway.
I spoke in the first hour about Jaden Daniels being fifth on Mel Kiper's quarterback big board and the decision that he's ultimately going to have to make and how that impacts Garrett Nussmeier, Walker Howard on down the line. I said I have no idea what the next 2 months are going to hold for LSU's quarterback room, but I feel like Brian Kelly probably has a real good idea because of the line of communication that he's communicated in there. One, do you feel the same way as that LSU will have a good idea what those guys' plans are? And two, do you have any idea what they may be?
Yeah, I think they don't necessarily know exactly what the final decisions are from just about any of them. I think Jaden Daniels is more goes into that for him than Garrett Nussmeier and Walker Howard, because once you go pro, you can come back. So you've got to be sure that Mel Kiper might have you high, but what's my actual draft grade? What's the feedback that college coaches and the NFL scouts are getting? Because if he leaves and there's something out there that tanks his draft stock, that could be that's a life-changing decision that you can't get back. And so he's got to do a good bit of research. I'm sure he's doing that right now, and he's already met with the staff. And there might be a decision already made. I'm not sure, but I think they have a good pulse of where things stand with him. And then the same goes for Garrett Nussmeier and Walker Howard. And you hear a lot about the feelers or players kind of feeling out what their transfer stock might be. And I think that's every player on every roster, quite honestly, save for a handful. people are always going to tell you the grass is greener on the other side. And I think it's very natural that you get all this sort of buzz around, well, if Jaden comes back, then so-and-so is going to leave, or if so-and-so comes back, so-and-so is going to leave. I think it's really natural to hear that. I think it's a lot more that they'll all three be on the roster by the time next fall comes around, for sure. But they could be, and they'll navigate that and go through that. And then, like you said, I think they'll have a good pulse on it, but I don't think anything's truly finalized just yet.
Xavier Thomas from Mississippi State has entered the transfer portal. I know that Rara Thomas has some ties here. Do you think that's a guy that LSU may pursue?
Did you say Rara or Xavier?
Oh, it's either one.
I haven't heard Rara's name, but Xavier Thomas is a former John Ehret standout, a really good, speedy wide receiver from Louisiana, and I think LSU's going to, kick the tires on him when he's officially in the portal. That makes a lot of sense. They need a kick returner, punt returner to kind of bring into this roster, but there are also a lot of those out there and a lot of players who can also maybe factor into the wide receiver rotation right away. So they've got Kyle Parker in this 2023 class. Jaylen Brown, I think, could do it as well. Those are two guys that they'll kind of have to weigh against, bringing in somebody who is just coming off a true freshman season at Mississippi State. And they'll go from there. But I think there's going to be definitely conversation, and they'll look into him. I know there's a number of colleges that are going to want to talk to him as well to kind of help bolster their special teams game as well.
He is Billy Embody, the Bengal Tiger, on 3. It's a crazy time in terms of recruiting and in terms of the transfer portal. They got it all covered. I'm shocked at how much information goes onto that message board since I've been hanging out there for a couple of months. Billy, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Hunt. Appreciate you.
You bet. He is Billy Embody. So, he brings up a good point there. Can we agree that come Labor Day next year when LSU goes to Orlando for Florida State, whoever goes back there to return kickoffs and to return punts has a chance to make a play? Can we not just fair catch everything? How many athletic dudes does LSU have on its roster to put back there to go make a play? I know what went on with the muffed kicks here and there and the blocks in the back. How many guys you got on this roster that can break a game wide open, catching the ball in the open field? How about some of those guys run kicks back? I don't care if they're a true freshman. I don't care if they're a transfer. I don't care if they're on the team last year. I just want them back there. It just feels like that's something that LSU should be able to have every single year. And to just fair catch everything is frustrating a little bit. Again, I know why, but I don't want to deal with that anymore. But that's a song for a different day, I suppose. Appreciate Billy for jumping aboard. Lots to unpack there. In a week's time, between the 15th and the 22nd, you're going to have Javian Toviano and Desmond Ricks both determine their college choice, and hopefully LSU can get in the mix on both of them. I'm a little concerned with Corey Raymond. That's natural because we know how well he closed on those elite guys when he was in Baton Rouge. We'll see if that translates over there to Florida. My sincere hope, it does not, but we shall see. Take one more time out, come back, and close it up with Take It or Leave It. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. Check out that inventory, BayouFord.com. They got your search bar right there. All the inventory locked and loaded. Whether you're in the market for an Explorer or an Expedition, maybe you're in the market for a truck, F-150, F-250. They got your Mustangs. They've got your Broncos. Got your Broncos Sports. All of it right there online at BayouFord.com. And if they've got what you want, perfect. You can take a video tour of the car, see all the features of it right there. They've got your pricing all right there. Or if you don't see what you want, call Ben Gagne and his crew. Say, hey, I want a car, something like this, but I got to make a few changes. And that's okay. They'll order you a custom vehicle. It'll show up in 60 to 90 days. And when it does, you'll be sitting at home. Maybe you'll be at work. They'll say, hey, we're going to drive your new car right to you. And every single purchase at Bayou Ford comes with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. So don't settle. Don't settle just because something's there on a lot. Let Bayou Ford customize a vehicle for you. The inventory is all there at BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ATEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Former Tiger Glenn Logan stops by. We'll visit with Paul Nolan, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up shop on a Thursday, pumped up for tomorrow's show. Going to talk a little bit about LSU and Wake Forest playing in Atlanta on the hardwood on Saturday. Les Johns covers Wake Forest, and he's going to be with us to preview the Demon Deacons. Get you ready for that one. LSU's been off this week for finals, so no basketball games this week, but they'll be back out there. Really, their only high-profile non-conference game. It's hard to call Kansas State in a high school gym, not on TV, in the Caymans high-profile. This one, a little bit more. It's the Holiday Hoops giving over there in the ATL. So those in Atlanta get a double dip of LSU. If they went last week, see it Georgia, they can go see this one. Hopefully it goes a little bit better. Maybe they might allow the same number of points, but hopefully it goes a little bit better. So we'll talk about that one tomorrow and get you ready for an NFL Sunday as well. All right, time for some Take It or Leave It.
All right, starting things off with the Falcons as they're going to hand the keys to the offense over to Desmond Ridder. Former Cincinnati star will be the QB of the next Falcons playoff game. Take it or leave it.
Man, the division does not look very good right now. The Panthers are a disaster. The Saints are not looking great, and Tom Brady's 100, and they're losing a lot of games too. So I'm going to take it.
I'll take
they
it.
invested in him early. It seems like they're moving on from Mariota. It's kind of a test run there. I think they're going to see what Ritter's got. I'll take it, and I will not feel very good about it at all, but it's more an indictment of the entire division than it is saying that Desmond Ritter's going to rescue the Falcons. I don't think that's the case either.
North Carolina quarterback Drake May announced he is not leaving Chapel Hill. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I was with T-Bob on this one. I was terrified he was going to go to Tuscaloosa, and that is not what we want. I want Alabama to try to replace Bryce Young, and it feels like if they were going to replace him with Drake May, who might be the first pick in the next draft, that would not be great. I would like them to go somewhere else. I don't even know who's on the roster. If it's the guy that was playing backup this year, whose name's totally escaping me at this point, Milton or Milroe, that guy is not good. So I'll be happy if he's the quarterback. I wanted no part of Drake May going to Tuscaloosa, so I will take that all day long.
Cubs radio play-by-play man Pat Hughes received the 2022 Ford C. Frick Award yesterday and will be inducted into the Hall of Fame next summer. Take it or leave it.
Oh, man. Pat Hughes. Pay me some Pat Hughes.
The windup and the pitch. Montero drives one in the air. Deep right field. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Grand slam, Miguel Montero. Cubs lead 7-3.
Oh, Pat Hughes. That was after an LSU game. It was game 1 of the NLCS against the Dodgers. 8th inning tie game. 2 out. Montero hits a grand slam. I'm in the car driving from Tiger Stadium back home listening to Pat Hughes on that call, and I about wrecked my car. Pat Hughes is awesome. I have listened to Cubs games for years, and he is fantastic. No matter who his sidekick is, whether it was Ron Santo, who was awesome, Ron Coomer these days, Pat Hughes is a legend in Chicago. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, so I'm fired up for that. I will take it all day long.
Former Mississippi State running back Dylan Johnson entered the transfer portal yesterday. In his announcement graphic, he included the text, quote, "Since I am not very tough and Leach is glad I am leaving, I will be entering my name into the transfer portal with the hopes of finding a more fit playing environment for me. Torching coaches on the way out. Take it or leave it."
You know, I'm not going to tell Myers to do it, but it's funny for the internet, so I'll take it.
I'll take it.
This feels like something Leach might say. I don't know that Dylan Johnson is making this up. Leach is pretty blunt, he's pretty direct, and he's got a history of saying some things like the players are with their fat little girlfriends and, potentially locking people in closets for concussion protocol and that kind of stuff. I think this might be true, and it's quite a touch on the transfer portal. I don't think it's going to hurt Dylan Johnson's prospects. He played pretty well late in the season for Mississippi State as a running back. It's a humorous announcement. I'll give him that, so I will take that. That it? I had one more. It's on Jason Hayward, and I can't believe the Dodgers signed him. It is shocking. They don't have to pay him anything because the Cubs still owe him a ton. But the Cubs finally got out from around that ridiculous albatross of a contract. So I don't know why the Dodgers think that bringing Jason Hayward in there to hit $160 and play a fairly mediocre right field now, but they certainly have. So that'll do it for our Take It or Leave It. You missed the news of the day. I think basically the biggest story of today in Baton Rouge is Mekhi Garner, LSU cornerback, had another year, but has decided to play in the East-West Shrine game, and then he's going to go on to the NFL. So LSU's cornerback room and really secondary as a whole takes a huge hit. You knew that was a very, very probable situation, and it has come to fruition. You're going to lose Garner. You're going to lose Bernard Converse. Obviously, you're going to lose, Todd Harris, and you're going to lose Jay Ward. Colby Richardson can't come back. Like, there's a lot that you knew was coming, but here it is. And so that makes what we were talking about with Billy in the last segment even more important. You got to close on Toviano. You got to try to close on Ricks, and then you got to go see what's available in the transfer portal. There are a couple ACC players from Wake Forest and Virginia that may be looking around. So we'll keep you posted on that as more news develops. So, I think Mekhi Garner moving on was the biggest impact of the day, and man, it's a bummer because I thought he played pretty well this year. I haven't seen word on whether or not he'll give it a go in the bowl game. That's to be determined, I guess, but he will not be on the football team when they play Florida State next year, and that is a bit of a bummer. But he played really well, and I think deserves a shot at this, so he will be moving right along. All right, we opened the show today to kind of catch you up on things with my plea to the New Orleans Saints. You got to start Jameis. this Andy Dalton thing is not working. I give my rationale why at the top of the show. Also talked about Cole Taylor and Desmond Little jumping into the transfer portal and what that means for LSU. David Grubb from Hard in the Paint joined us at 1:15 to talk about these Pelicans. They're in first place in the Western Conference. They host the Suns both games this weekend on Friday and Sunday. Should be awesome environments in the blender. So David give us his thoughts on the Pels as well as some things on the Saints. Mel Kiper's big board on quarterbacks. I went through that at 1:30. Jaden Daniels is fifth, and what I think that means for his future. I went through where the fifth quarterback has been taken in the last 5 drafts, and I think there's a serious decision to be made there. Best win in the NFL, worst loss in the NFL to close out hour number 1, as we always have done on Thursday. Second hour, played teacher, gave out my grades for the SEC football teams in their seasons in the East and in the West. And then Billy Embody of On 3 Sports joined us at 2:30. Always invite you to check that out on demand. If any of that tickles your fancy and you might want to give it a listen, go to 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page, and you can check out my name right there, and all the stuff is on demand there. You can go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well, and it's always every single day on YouTube. Sometimes we cut up some shorter segments as well, so you can catch those shorter videos. Check them out on demand. Rate, review, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We certainly do appreciate it. Again, tomorrow, previewing LSU and Wake Forest from Atlanta, getting you ready for an NFL Sunday. Looking forward to it. Ho-Ho Hanny and Jimmy Ott from 6 to 8 tonight on Game Time. And coming up right after this timeout is Matt Moscona and After Further Review. Have a great Thursday. We will see you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.